Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How you guys doing? It's time for episode 7 of the Bugsy Minimum Battle series. We're making excellent progress actually up to this point. Already 71 Pokemon have beaten Bugsy and Rival 2 on minimum battles. We added in another 5 Pokemon beating them with struggle strats, and only 18 Pokemon have failed so far. So overall, we're actually doing really well. But today we've got some challengers that might just make this a little more difficult. We are coming in with, of course, the Drowzee line. We've got Kingler, Electrode, got Exeggcute and Exeggutor, which might be absolutely terrible in this section. Then we've got Marowak, we've got all the Hitmons, we've got Lickitung. It's going to be kind of interesting. Weezing, we've got Girafarig or Girafarig. Everybody kind of keeps telling me different ways to say it. Some people said because it's like a palindrome, you're supposed to do Girafarig, so it's the same front and back. I don't know. Anyway, next up we got Dunsparce, we've got Gligar, we've got Steelix. It's going to be a heck of a set of Pokemon. Now, I just have to give some predictions, and one of the biggest things that I've noticed so far is that this section really hates psychic type. The rival has 2 Pokemon that have super effective moves against them at least, and we've got Bugsy with his Fury Cutters, which I'm just imagining something like Exeggcute probably will not be able to get through that. The Fury Cutter is probably going to turn out to be too much, but who knows? Maybe Sleep Strats will get us through. We're just going to have to test it out. But that makes me think that we should start this episode off by just getting all of the psychic types out of the way. So we're going to look at the Hypno, the Exeggcute, and of course the Girafarig in this section and just see how they all do in this section of the game. They might turn out to be completely terrible. Anyway, you guys always just drop your predictions down in the comment section. How many of our 16 challengers do you think get through this section? I'm going to make the guess that 12 of these Pokemon can get through this section. I'm going to count at least 4 of them out, but we'll just have to see. Anyway, we're going to lead off with the Girafarig or Girafarig, however you want to say it. Let's get into this and see how this goes. And just a quick life update, guys. If you've been following the channel for any period of time, I am about to become a dad next month. This month. Oh God, I can't even keep track of the time anymore. Yes, it's already June and my baby boy is due on June 12th. So this might turn out to be the last or second to last video that I get out before the baby comes out. But don't worry, I'm still recording and I'm going to be editing up a bunch in the background. I'll just be releasing things as they get done, but appreciate your understanding if things are a little bit delayed. Anyway, with that, let's get into this first Pokemon. So I do have to say that Girafarig is one of the cooler looking Pokemon in Gen 2, just in my personal opinion. And the fact that we have a really wide move set at this point, because we've got Stomp, we've got Confusion, we should be able to get through most opponents reasonably easily. What I'm most curious to see is how our type weakness to Bug and Ghost type moves affects us though. We obviously, at least at this point, don't have any sort of status move, so while yes, I think we can get through a Ghastly really easily with our Confusion, we might just have some trouble when we come up against Bugsy. I think ultimately it's all going to come down to whether or not we can survive as he builds up his Fury Cutter and how many turns it takes us to actually knock his Scyther out. Now, one place where I do not foresee any difficulty is of course in the Slowpoke well. Our psychic abilities should allow us to foresee a pretty easy victory. And sure enough, everything to this point is basically a 1 or 2 hit KO, so even as we get to Jamesy Proton here, we're just going to 2-shot his Coughing with Confusion. There was never any question of getting through that section, so now it's just time to beat up on a couple easy trainers, and I think I'm going to try Bugsy first in this one just to see what the ranges look like. If he's hard, then we might take on Rival 2 before we try him again. So standing right in front of Bugsy with our Giraffe, I think it's just looking down on all of his Pokemon. We're coming in at level 13 with 46 HP. We have Confusion, Growl, Stomp, and Tackle as our moveset. I'm going to give a Berry here just to maybe be able to survive an extra turn or something like that. And we're coming in with 30 attack, 26 defense, 33 special attack, 26 special defense, and 32 speed. Let's see if this works out. I don't think we're going to outspeed that Scyther by any means, but maybe we can confuse it. Maybe we just do enough damage. Let's find out. So here, Bugsy attempt number 1. I'm going to just lead off with Confusion here, given the fact that if he does use something like Harden, it's not going to affect our damage at all. He comes out with the Scyther second. Fury Cutter does 10 damage right off the bat. We get a critical hit, but that Fury Cutter is building up super strong. So in 3 turns, he knocks us out there. Now, we could probably get through that with a confusion, but I'm not sure that it's going to be consistent enough. So I'm going to run out and I'm going to try to take on Rival 2 and just see what this range looks like. So Rival 2 attempt number 1, he leads off with the Ghastly, of course. We're going to go Confusion and get the one-shot. Out comes the Zubat next. We outspeed and one-shot it with a Confusion. And now out comes the Bayleaf. I'm just going to stick with the Confusion here. We get a critical hit turn 1. He goes Reflect. So definitely we just have to stick with Confusion at this point. But even with a couple Razor Leafs, we easily knock him out. So that was the first attempt victory. That being said, we didn't gain that much XP from it. I mean, we're going in at level 14 now for the Bugsy fight. We should level up after the first Pokemon, but I'm not sure if this is going to work out. So with that, it's time for Bugsy round 2. We just kind of have to cross our fingers and hope that we do enough damage. We do knock out the first Metapod and get to level 15. Now we can go back to the Scyther. We've got more health. He did 11 damage with the first hit from Fury Cutter, but we confuse him with our second Confusion. He doesn't hit himself though, and he knocks us out. So I think the only way we're going to get through this is by confusing that Scyther. I just don't see any other way that we're going to survive enough turns. Now, just for a test, I decided to use Stomp, and he actually missed a Fury Cutter here. Stomp is a 3-hit KO range there, so we actually get through the Scyther this time. And now with Confusion, we can simply one-shot the Kakuna, and there we have it. So really, it's Stomp strats. I wasn't thinking about Stomp just because I was thinking that we were still being outsped, so it's not like we can flinch him. But the extra damage output of Stomp, being that it is a same type move on this Pokemon, turns out to be enough to affect the ranges. The Confusion seems to be more like a 3-hit range there. I was just thinking maybe I needed to confuse him in order to get him to hit himself in Confusion once or twice. But yeah, Stomp is the way to go, at least with a max DV's Girafarig. That being said, if you didn't have max DV's, I think that fight is basically impossible without resetting for ridiculous amounts of luck. But hey, there we go. 1 Psychic type through. Now it's time to go and see how we do with Exeggutor. And then we're going to check out the Hypno after that. But Exeggutor might just be pretty rough here. So obviously the big issue with Exeggutor beyond its 4 times weakness to Bug is that it's also going to be weak against Fire and against Ghost in this section. And that means that the main battles that we're going up against are all going to have Pokemon that have super effective moves against us. In fact, the rivals, every single Pokemon in his team is going to have a super effective move to use against this Pokemon. Now, we do have really, really good stats with Exeggutor, plus we have access to Sleep, and that might be enough to get through, but I don't think it's going to be very consistent. With that being said, Exeggutor does have access to Confusion, which I think will be enough to get through the Slowpoke well and get all the way to Bugsy without any real difficulty. So against Jamesy Proton, we simply have to use a couple of Confusions, and it looks like even a one-hitter with a critical hit, so we've easily gotten through that. Now we just have to decide how to route, and I think we have to try Bugsy first, since at least in his fight, only the Scyther has a super effective move against this Pokemon. So now standing directly in front of Bugsy, we're coming in with a level 12 Exeggutor. We've got 49 HP. We know Confusion, Hypnosis, and Barrage. We've got the Baryon to help maybe just survive an extra hit here. We don't really know, but we've got 32 attack, 29 defense, 39 special attack, 24 special defense, and only 22 speed. We're incredibly slow and in the slow level up group, so we're a little bit under leveled, but let's see if we can find a way to make this one work. So here in the first attempt, I'm simply going to use Confusion against the Metapod. It is a 2-hit KO, easy victory right there, but of course he's going to send Scyther out next. I'm going to try to put this Pokemon to sleep because he did 20 damage with that first Fury Cutter. Absolutely terrifying. And here, this is looking like maybe a 5-hit KO with our Hypnosis. And sure, we can heal with a Berry, but if he just hits one more Fury Cutter, we're dead. So outside of getting really, really good sleep luck here, I'm not sure how else we could get through, but I'm going to test this just a couple times because sleep always does give us at least a chance to get through this one. In this attempt, he wakes up, but he is confused and he missed a Fury Cutter. So now we put him back to sleep. And if we can land 2 more hits, we actually knock out the Scyther on the second attempt. Now against the Kakuna, yes, it poisons us with Poison Sting, but that doesn't matter. We win. Only 2 attempts to get through with an Exeggutor is actually pretty amazing. But now we also have to get through rival number 2. So the fact that we can get through that Scyther is not necessarily representative of every possible Exeggutor that's named Girafarig. No. Oh, I just realized that I was named Girafarig. Let's fix this. I can fix this. Yes, there we go, Exeggutor. Perfect. Oh, that was terrible. But it's worth noting that just because we managed to get through Bugsy there does not mean that every Exeggutor could. Remember that this is a max DV's Exeggutor, meaning we have the best possible stats for this Exeggutor at our current level. If you had a lower HP or defense DV, that fight might just be impossible. I don't know, we'll come back and test it someday, but for now we got through, so now it's just time to take on the rival. Let's see if we can get it to go. So Rival 2 attempt number 1, I'm just going to use Confusion against this Ghastly. It was faster, but we did knock it out. Out next comes Quilava. Ember did 25 damage and we got burned. No. Oh, that is terrible. I'm going to use Confusion just to see the range. We got a critical hit. So with that, we just don't get the 2-hitter and we get knocked out as he wakes up. So it looks to be a 3-hit range with a crit on that Quilava. Probably a 4-hit range without the critical hit if I had to guess. So here in the next attempt, we're going to try to put him back to sleep as Ember yet again does massive damage. And we need a really good sleep here. Instead, he just wakes up and immediately destroys us. So I'm going to grind this out for quite a few attempts until we get one that looks like it will go, or after maybe 15-20 attempts, we might just have to give up on this one. One major hindrance is that we're actually slower than Ghastly, so it can put us to sleep or it can paralyze us with Lick. Both results are absolutely terrible. But this time we get a Leer from the Quilava and we get it to sleep and confuse it. So we might just have a chance to knock it out on this one. It wakes up and it knocks itself out in confusion. So we've made it to Zubat on full health and a single confusion knocks it out. So that actually didn't take as many resets as I thought it would. That being said, I have no confidence in Exeggcute. I think that Pokemon is going to get completely wrecked here, but we have to test it and find out. Maybe we can find a sleep range that will work out, but I'm not too hopeful. Still, Exeggutor moves on, and if it can find a way through Whitney, it should be just fine against the next 2 gyms after that, so it might have a chance to get pretty deep as long as it can just find a way to get the right luck, I guess. Anyway, before we get to any more of that, let's check out how Hypno does. Keeping in mind that as far as Gen 1, outside of legendaries, Hypno was my best Pokemon to beat the entire game of Pokemon Yellow on minimum battles, and it was even the best in Pokemon Red and Blue. So this one I'm actually excited for. Now, one major issue I expect to have with this Hypno is the fact that in Gen 2, when they made the special split, it didn't keep its high special attack stat. Everything just went to special defense, which is really kind of sad. Like, I understand they were trying to differentiate between Alakazam and Hypno a little bit more by making one more offensive based and one more defensive based, but the fact that the special split lowered this Pokemon's special attack significantly means that its confusions really don't hit that hard. So we might need even more luck to get through this section of the game. And that's kind of sad considering that Hypno was actually the best solo running Pokemon, at least in my system, running on minimum battles without TMs, in all of Gen 1. In fact, in Pokemon Red and Blue, it even outperformed Mewtwo according to my setup, just given the fact that it could beat the entire game without a single TM. And it could do so consistently, which is just kind of ridiculous. Most Pokemon, even a Mewtwo, needs to start adding some coverage moves as TMs in order to reliably beat the Elite Four. Hypno doesn't need any of that. Meditate, Headbutt, Psychic, and Hypnosis just completely destroys all of Kanto, but it might not be enough here when we're in Gen 2. What is definitely enough though is the use of Confusion on the Slowpoke well. Even the last Rocket is an easy 2-hit KO yet again, and because we're in the medium fast level up group, we're actually going to be a little bit higher level than Exeggutor, which is kind of nice, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to get through Bugsy. Let's beat the easy trainers in his gym and find out if we can actually take on either of these bosses at the end. Now, maybe it's just me, but I always felt like when they added Hypnosis to the game, a Pokemon like Hypno should actually have a higher chance of landing the move than basically any other Pokemon. I mean, it would perfectly fit its style and design. Give it a special item that lets it just put opponents to sleep easily. I mean, we can technically see that it's already holding holding an item in its hands in order to put opponents to sleep, so that should have given it a boost of some sort, I think. But anyway, here we are right in front of Bugsy, so let's check the stats coming in. We've got a level 13 Hypno with 49 HP. We've got a Baryon. I'm not sure if it's going to help at all, but we have Confusion, Hypnosis, Disable, and Pound is the moveset. And we've got 28 attack, 28 defense, 28 special attack, 39 special defense, and only 27 speed. So I'm not super confident here, but let's just give it a good shot. So round 1 against Bugsy, of course, we're just going to use Confusion. It looks like a 2-hit KO range on that first Metapod. Out comes the Scyther. I'm immediately going to put this Pokemon to sleep, and we miss the first Hypnosis. We land the second one. Now we can actually disable his Fury Cutter if we can get it to land. So now he has to use Quick Attack, but we're all the way down to 3 HP remaining. And oh my gosh, we're doing like 9 damage per hit, which means this is a 6-hit KO on this Scyther with our Confusion. He does get confused, granted, and if we can land one more, we do actually knock the Scyther out and level up to level 14. Now on Kakuna, it is a 1-hit KO, so we actually get through Bugsy on the first attempt. That was ridiculous, but that was incredibly lucky as well. Turns out that that berry actually meant something there, so good on us. But next up, we have to take on rival number 2. Of course, the Ghastly and the Zubat have super effective moves, but let's see if we can just make our way through them easily. So here on the first attempt, I'm just going to use Confusion on Ghastly. It is a 1-hit KO. Out comes the Zubat. We outspeed and one-shot it. Now Bayleaf. So I'm going to try to put Bayleaf to sleep. It poisoned me. And let's just see what the ranges look like here. I'm going Confusion, and we're doing 11 to 12 damage per hit, which makes this about a 5-hit KO range. We're just not going to quite get enough damage to knock it out faster than that, but I do think we can survive one more hit, and with 3 HP remaining, we beat rival number 2 and level up to level 16. So we got Hypno through. Drowzee's gonna be rough. I'm not sure if either Exeggcute or Drowzee are getting through this section, if I'm being perfectly honest. We're gonna give them our best shot, but it might just be another case where the fully evolved forms barely scraped through, so the unevolved forms just have no shot whatsoever. So one other thing I think we need to worry about with this Exeggcute is not only is it weak against Bugsy's Scyther, it's weak against everything on Rival 2's team, it also doesn't have the same moveset as we just had with our Exeggutor. We're going to get Leech Seed in this section. We're not going to get anywhere near learning Confusion, so we might be going for some like Hypnosis Leech Seed strats with Barrage in order to get through this section, and that might just turn out to be absolutely terrible. That being said, Leech Seed will let us heal some damage off our opponent, and I think it does a higher percentage of damage in this version of the game, but I could be wrong. Let's just see if this works or not. This could definitely affect the route that we choose to take, however, because it might be better to go up against Rival 2 and, for example, beat his Ghastly and his Zubat, which have weaker attacking moves, by using the Leech Seed, but I don't know, maybe it's better to go up against the Cocoons and take them on instead. With that being said, we're going to come and see Kurt down here in the Slowpoke well, and he's going to be worried about our cracked eggs as we fell down here. Hopefully we can find a way through these Pokemon. Now we do have access to Reflect to reduce physical damage from our opponents, and that could be a big part of our strategy. If we get access to the move Leech Seed, we might be using a Berry plus Leech Seed plus Hypnosis plus Reflect in order to get better damage ranges from our opponents. I think it's really important that we actually keep Reflect up in most of these battles though. That being said, since all of our weaknesses are physical, I think that Reflect will be really helpful in this section of the game. Still, it looks like even a Zubat can be a pretty big problem for us, given that it did 10 damage with a single Leech Life there. So we're going to need to get really good sleep luck and get our Reflects up pretty quickly, and then get really good ranges with Barrage as well in order to have any shot here. And really the issue is that we're stuck using Barrage. I don't see any way that we're going to be able to get through this Zubat, at least reliably, with this move. But I do think we can try a Struggle strat. Keep in mind, Struggle is a 50 base power, which means it's stronger than a 3-hit Barrage, and because Barrage has a chance to miss whereas Struggle doesn't, it might just be the solution to getting through this fight. So I'm going to leave myself with a Reflect and a Hypnosis and then try to struggle this trainer down with the Baryon. Let's see if it can actually work. So with this strategy, obviously we have to land Hypnosis turn 1. If we miss Hypnosis, it's an auto reset right there. Then we'll set up Reflect, and now Struggle looks to be more like a 4-hit KO here. Granted, we need our opponent to actually stay asleep for that entire time. So this is actually the first time that we've ever made it to the Ekans. The problem is we're down to 9 HP and we've already used our berry. Poison Sting is super effective, so we're going down just like that. And even with a critical hit, this Zubat is a 4-hit KO. Granted, we get a much better range this time. Our Reflect does wear off and we get poisoned though. And now we're not doing much damage to the Ekans. So this looks like a 6-hit KO, and there's just no way we're going to get enough damage before it knocks us out. So ultimately, I don't think there's anything to do. I think that Exeggcute fails right here because it doesn't have anything to knock out a Zubat reliably at this point. And while yes, you could get a perfect range with Sleep and Barrage hitting enough times that you finally knock it out, but it doesn't seem to work within a reasonable number of resets. And remember, this is a max DV's Exeggcute. This is the best possible Exeggcute. So if you're using any other Exeggcute, you're just getting wrecked here. So with that, I think we're just going to fail Exeggcute right here. Let's move on to Drowzee and see if it does a little bit better in this section. Now, Drowzee is another one of these Pokemon that it doesn't seem is going to reach the move Confusion in this section. We're going to get to level 10 in order to learn Disable, but Confusion doesn't come in until level 18 on this one. So we're going to be stuck with only the move Pound for damage, since it doesn't appear that we learn any other TMs in this section of the game. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take Rival 2 down with struggle strats. Like, yes, we can try to put his Pokemon to sleep and struggle them down, but this one might turn out to be impossible. Granted, we have seen a few Pokemon manage the struggle strat in this section of the game, so we can't count it out just yet. We have to test it out and see exactly how far Drowzee can get before it just kind of falls off. First things first, though, we're going to go ahead and talk to Kurt. He's going to run out of here. He's going to say, Slowpoke's also psychic. You should go down in the Slowpoke well. And we're going to say, oh, great. But let's try to beat these Rockets with just some pound strats here. Now, it does help that we're more of a physical attacker than a special attacker because of the way that the special split went down. But still, we have to use Hypnosis in order to get through these Rattatas consistently. But with that fight done, we can get to level 10 and learn Disable. And that might be a small saving grace. If we could just stop our opponent from using a super effective move against us, we might have a chance. So against this Zubat, for example, we're going to try to put it to sleep, and then I'm also going to try to disable the move Leech Life. With that move disabled, it can no longer at least directly damage us, it can only try to confuse us, and that will keep it from healing up in battle. With that being said, we are still completely reliant on landing Hypnosis on this Ekans, and we keep getting poisoned or wrapped or just missing enough turns that it knocks us out over and over again. I've added on the Pink Bow to try to get a better damage range here, so we finally get through, but that fight was terrible. We also outspeed the Zubats, unlike the Exeggcute, so we can put them to sleep first, but if we get bad Hypnosis luck, we can still actually lose this fight. I had one reset on this second to last Rocket, but with that one being done, we can now make it to Jamesy Proton, where I think it's just a matter of sleep luck in order to get this one to go. That being said, we're only doing 5 damage here, so this is an 8-hit KO to knock this Pokemon out. Still, we managed to land enough Hypnosises here, so we're actually going to get through this one on the first attempt. And with that, since we already know we don't have a move to hit Ghastly, I think we just have to go into Bugsy's gym and hope and pray that we can make our way through this gym at least. Let's find out. And with that, we are in fact finally ready to take on Bugsy. Let's check the stats so far on Drowzee though. We're coming in at level 13, 43 HP. We've got the Pink Bow on to try to do some extra damage. I'm gonna experiment with the Pink Bow and the Berry here just to see which is actually better, but we know Pound, Hypnosis, and Disable, and we have 22 attack, 21 defense, 20 special attack, 33 special defense, not that it matters here at all, and we've got 20 speed. So we're incredibly slow and we don't have great stats, but at least our attack stats a little bit higher than other things, so maybe it's enough. Let's find out. So here in the first attempt against Bugsy, I think we want to put this Metapod to sleep if we can. And with it asleep and with no hardened setup, it immediately wakes up, of course. But we put it back to sleep. Now we're just going to try to pound it. We're trying to put things to sleep and take them to Pound Town, and it's just not really working out here. Just he doesn't want to stay asleep and let us pound him down. But with that, we do finally knock out the Metapod. Out comes Scyther now. We're going to go for Hypnosis. He went Quick Attack at the beginning. And this is with the pink bow on. We're doing 5 damage per hit. So this is a 10 hit KO against the Scyther. So even with perfect sleep luck, he would wake up and hit us again. So this one might just be impossible right here on Bugsy even. Here in the second attempt, we do manage to get to Scyther on full health, and he misses the first Fury Cutter. And that means we can disable Fury Cutter and now start pounding, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough. He goes Quick Attack right there, which did 13 damage. We do manage to put him back to sleep here, but man, oh man, we're going to need like a perfect range, and we do not get it. So I think we might just have to cut off Drowzee right here. I'm going to try the berry a couple times just to see if that helps. Maybe the heal in the middle of the battle is the way to go. So now against the Scyther, we got it to sleep and we're still on green health. So we still have our berry intact, but we're just not doing a ton of damage. He misses another Fury Cutter there. He hits the next one, but we put him back to sleep and use the berry. This is like our best shot at ever getting through this one. And if we can land one more hit, we do in fact knock it out. Okay, we get to level 14. Now we just need to put Kakuna to sleep, and we're really hoping that it doesn't poison us. Please don't poison me. I'm even going to try to disable Poison Sting here. So Poison Sting was disabled, so he can only use Harden. Yes, it's going to cause this fight to take more turns, but if we can just keep him asleep and keep pounding, we might just be able to make this work. And with that, I think we've got him in the range. So we do in fact beat Bugsy with Drowzee. So hey, it's just a matter of getting some Fury Cutter misses and getting really good sleep luck and having the berry on. Turns out that the pink bow is not the way to go there. I don't think we've found a situation where the pink bow was actually that helpful this early in the game, but still, hey, it worked. So we got through. Now we have to deal with Rival 2 though. And of course, the big issue with Rival 2 is that we don't have anything to hit a ghost. All of the moves that we could learn that would hit ghosts are all going to be available in the next section after we get through Rival 2 and get to Goldenrod City. So I think we're just gonna have to go straight for the struggle strats here. Let's see how this works. So I am giving myself no PP in any moves other than Hypnosis. We're gonna have one Hypnosis to try to put this Ghastly to sleep, and hopefully it will be enough. Instead, he puts Hypnosis on us, and once he starts licking, I think we're just dead. Here, it looks like once we do get to struggle though, it's going to be a 3-hit KO on the Ghastly, and then we've got nothing to do. We just have to use struggle here. Bite is super effective, so I just don't see any way we're getting through this one. And it's just a shame. There's just no way to do enough damage to get through, even to get a shot at the Bayleaf. So the fact that Confusion is all the way up at level 18 for this Pokemon is the real issue with a Drowzee, meaning that it just doesn't have the moveset that it needs to be able to get through Rival 2. That being said, I mean, it was pretty luck-based this entire time. In the Slowpoke well, up against Bugsy, it was really fishing for really good luck to progress. So I think we can fairly confidently just eliminate this Pokemon and say that it's not possible to beat the game on minimum battles with at least a standard Drowzee. Maybe with some egg moves, but definitely not in its current form. Anyway, with that section done, we've done all the psychic types. Let's see our progress so far. So just like that, we've added Girafarig or Girafarig, Hypno, and of course, Exeggutor are all now in the pass column, but the unevolved forms, Exeggcute and Drowzee, they're stuck down in the fail column. So kind of what I expected coming into this, but I can only fail with 2 more Pokemon in this episode if I'm actually going to reach my goal number of Pokemon beating this section of the game. So let's find out if that's going to be the case. We've got some miscellaneous Pokemon up next, starting off with Kingler, where I think this one should pretty well beast this section, but let's find out. Bayleaf might be the wall. So here with
Kingler, we start off with Vice Grip and Bubble, so we at least have enough coverage to get through basically everything. We might need to add Mud Slap in order to get through Rival 2 though, we'll just have to see. The real question is the Bayleaf. Every single Pokemon that we've taken into the Bayleaf fight with a type weakness has struggled pretty hard to get through this section, though we have gotten quite a few of those Pokemon through. The real question is just whether or not our high attack stat is going to be enough to get through this one. Will we need to go for some Mud Slap strats, or will it just turn out to be completely impossible given that Kingler is not really known for its special? The other question is whether or not we'll get to the point of learning Harden in this section. First things first, we're just going to beat up on all these rockets and just see what level we can get to as we go into that Rival 2 fight. And thanks to our high attack and defense stats, we really don't have any troubles with any of the trainers in this section. Vice Grip is doing more than enough damage to basically everything. So the real question is whether or not Bubble will do enough when we actually have to use it, but Vice Grip might be strong enough to be able to get through all of these opponents. So I think the obvious decision is to take on Bugsy first, since we have no type weaknesses here. So let's just check the stats as we come into this fight. Kingler's at level 13 with 42 HP. We have Vice Grip, Leer, and Bubble on the moveset, and we've got 43 attack, 39 defense, 22 in both specials, and 29 speed. So we really just have to hope that we're going to be able to get through this section based on our high attack stat. Let's see if it works out here. This is actually one Pokemon that I think the Pink Bow might make perfect sense with, since Vice Grip is our entire strategy. So with that added on, let's just take our first attempt here at Bugsy. So first things first, against the Metapod, I'm just going to give it a Vice Grip. We did well over a third there, so it's going to be a 3-hit KO, and we don't take much damage from its tackles. Out next comes Kakuna. We're hoping not to get poisoned, and yet again, a 3-hitter to knock it out. Out finally comes the Scyther. It's going to go Fury Cutter, and we're just hoping that we deal enough damage. This looks like it might be a 5-hit KO here, though, as we get knocked out on the first attempt. So one possibility is to try a Leer here instead to lower its defense, and let's see what that does to the range. After a Leer, it looks like he's a 3-hit KO, but we just didn't have enough turns to get through there. That being said, it does look like a critical hit will get the job done. This time we get a miss from Scyther though, and I think that's all we needed to finally get the victory on the third attempt. So just like that, Bugsy goes down. We've reached level 15, but now we have to go and take on our rival. Now we do have Bubble, which can affect the Ghastly, but given our low special attack and Ghastly being a pretty good special Pokemon, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to get through that Pokemon efficiently. If it doesn't really work, that's where we'll add on the Mud Slap to try to get through. So first attempt against the rival, I'm just going to go Bubble here. And yeah, Bubble does like nothing. 9 damage, meaning that this is going to be a 4-hit KO on the Ghastly. Of course, Lick does hardly anything though, so we do knock that one out. But next comes the Bayleaf, and here Razor Leaf did massive damage, and we did 15 damage with our first Vice Grip. That means even with the Pink Bow on, we're looking at like a 4-hit KO range here without a crit, and that is not going to work. So I think the only possible way to get through this is to go for the Mud Slap or possibly Fury Cutter. It's not necessarily ideal, but Fury Cutter would allow us, if we could build it up enough, to knock out the Bayleaf, and that might be all that we need. So I'm actually going to try that. I'm going to try the Fury Cutter strat here. Let's see if we can get this to work. So the big issue here, of course, is that we have to avoid paralysis from this Ghastly while we build up the Fury Cutter. So we get through Ghastly this time on the Bayleaf, and Fury Cutter does one-shot it, and now we've leveled up to learn Harden. I'm going to learn Harden over Leer. I think this is an effective play. And now finally against the Zubat, I'm just going to go into the Vice Grip, get an easy one-hitter with a crit, and there we go. Kingler has made it through rival number 2. Now I'm very excited to see how this Pokemon does going forward, given the fact that it will learn Guillotine at some point, so it will have a one-hit KO move even at certain parts in the game. I'm not sure if it will actually be useful or not, but it's gonna be worth a try. And hey, Fury Cutter strats actually can work there on rival number 2. It's just a matter of getting the setup. I went in with the pink bow this time, but I really probably should have put on a paralyzed Cure Berry, which of course we can get prior to reaching this point in the game. A paralyzed Cure Berry would have solved the issue of getting paralyzed by Lick from that Ghastly, and that's probably the way to actually set it up so that you get enough Fury Cutters built up, and then you can just one-shot the Bayleaf as long as you outspeed. Very nice. So with that Pokemon done, let's get into some of these other miscellaneous Pokemon. Next up is Electrode, and let's see if it can manage its way through this section. So of course, Electrode has access to the move Sonic Boom, which gives me a lot of confidence in this section because Sonic Boom deals fixed damage. With all of the opponents that we've seen so far, at worst, Sonic Boom is a 3-hit KO on any of them. So as long as we can get through to that opponent successfully, be it the Scyther or the Bayleaf, I think we can knock them out within a reasonable number of hits. So it's just going to be a matter of whether or not we can survive enough turns to get all those Sonic Booms off. I definitely think Bugsy is going to be the easier of the two, so we'll take him on first in this section, and then we're going to have to figure out what to do against that Ghastly. I also think the Swift TM is going to be really relevant for this Pokemon, given that it's a nice upgrade on Tackle. But of course, before we worry about any of that, let's just freak Kurt out with something that looks like a Pokeball but isn't. He's going to be like, what the heck is that Pokemon? He's going to run away from us. He doesn't know. He's used to making balls naturally. No, this time it's a kind of weird upside down ball. So here, let's just beat up on these rockets really quick. I'm just going to go for the Sonic Booms, hope that they actually hit here. As long as we hit, we should get easy wins. So here, even against Jamesy Proton, he's just a 2-hit KO with Sonic Boom, so we get an easy victory, and we can get straight to Bugsy's gym. So now standing directly in front of Bugsy, we've got a level 13 Electrode with 43 HP, Sonic Boom, Screech, Tackle, and Self-Destruct. And now we've got 22 attack, 28 defense, 30 special attack, 30 special defense, and 46 speed. So the question is, can we find a way to get through both of these required bosses at this point in the challenge? We're going to start off here with Bugsy. I think this one's not too bad. So this first Metapod is going to be a 2-hit KO with Sonic Boom. We just have to land both hits. Same here for the Kakuna. It's just a matter of landing 2 hits with Sonic Boom. And now against the final Scyther, we're actually faster than it. It sets up Fury Cutter, but it's an easy 3-hit KO with Sonic Boom, and we get to level 15. So just like that, that battle is done. But now we have the issue of the rival. And this is kind of an interesting spot because with our moveset as it is right now, we technically could not just run out of PP and go into struggle because we have self-destruct on the moveset. Fortunately, we do have a TM that we can learn in Swift. And by learning Swift, we can at least technically, legally run out of PP by just having Swift instead of self-destruct. But as far as I'm aware, I think that Sonic Boom can't hit a ghost. At least that's the way other fixed damage moves have been behaving so far in this generation. And if that's the case, then we're going to have to go for struggle strats in order to try to get through Rival 2. And that might just be a wall. And exactly as expected, Sonic Boom does not work on Ghastly, and we don't have any sort of status move to use here. So I think the only thing to do is to reset and set our PP to 0. We're going to have to try to struggle our way through this fight. Otherwise, it's going to be completely impossible to progress. So I'm going to give myself a berry to try to survive longer in this one. And I'm also going to give 1 PP in Screech just in case. Maybe it will help our range against the Ghastly. I'm not sure, but let's just try this. So first turn, I Screech at Ghastly, it licks me, but now Struggle does not quite get the 1-hit KO. We do knock it out in 2 turns though. Out comes the Bayleaf, we outspeed. We did hardly any damage though. We have done 13 damage with 2 hits. So this is looking like a 9-hit KO range and we're poisoned. I do not see any way that we're getting through this one. And yeah, it seems like even a non-critical hit Razor Leaf is doing between 12 and 13 damage here. So we just don't have enough HP to be able to get through this one, and our attacks aren't doing any meaningful damage. So with that, I think we have to eliminate Electrode from the running. It just doesn't have any moves in this section to fight against the Ghastly. This is a really recurring theme, and yes, a lot of these Pokemon with something like an egg move would be able to get through here. The problem, of course, is that Electrode can't breed, so it doesn't have any way to get access to any sort of egg moves that would help us in this section anyway. So the only way you could actually make this Pokemon decent would be either by grinding more levels, it will eventually learn Rollout, or by using it as a traded Pokemon from another version and giving it an electric type move. Other than that, I can't think of any way that you'd actually be able to get through this fight, short of just massive level grinding. Anyway, Electrode's out of there. Let's see our progress so far. So with Electrode eliminated in the fail column, and of course Kingler joining the pass column, it's now 75 that have passed and 21 that have failed. And next up, we've got a ground type, but I'm gonna compare up this Marowak to the Gligar. Since Gligar is a flying ground type, it's kind of hilarious to me to see how this actually performs overall. Like, the ground type isn't going to be great here because of the fact that Bug resists ground, but Gligar doesn't even learn any ground type moves, so it might not even matter. Let's just get into this one and see how they perform. So for Gligar, I think the strategy is almost going to have to include getting access to Swift, just because I don't think Poison Sting's going to do enough as we get into the Slowpoke well. Like, everything down there is basically poison types, so how are we going to deal any damage to them? So I think this is a spot where we're pretty much going to just slap on the TM as soon as we get. And looking at our moveset, we'll probably get Hardened in this section, but we're definitely not going to get to Feint Attack or Quick Attack here, I don't think. And that means our best strategy is probably to go again for the Fury Cutter strats here. At least against rival number 2, I think that's going to be our best bet. But before we get into any of that, we're going to go down into the Slowpoke well, where we're going to kind of question why this Pokemon wasn't a poison type. Why was it a flying ground type? And if they made it flying ground, why didn't they give it access to Mud Slap? These are the questions that have vexed the Pokemon community forever. With that being said though, I think Swift will be enough to get us through this section, but let's just test it out. And sure enough, Swift is a 2-hit KO on those Rattatas, and I think that's all we needed to see to know that we should be able to get through this section just fine. And here we do reach level 13 and learned Hardened, so we can also go Hardened strats if we really want to. And as Jamesy Proton goes down, we can make our way now back to Azalea Town, where we're going to go straight to Bugsy's gym. Our Poison Sting could actually be good against some of these Pokemon, but I don't think it's going to be enough on its own. But I think that Swift will be enough to get us through at this point. And after getting through the 2 required trainers without a single hit even taken by our Gligar, we can now get to Bugsy, where we're coming in at level 15, 49 HP. We know Swift, Sand Attack, Poison Sting, and Harden. And we have 33 attack, 42 defense, 20 special attack, 29 special defense, and a very nice 36 in speed. Let's see if this is enough to get through though. I think I might set up all the Hardens right away. Let's just see how it goes. So first things first, in this fight, I'm going to set up Harden a couple times at least on the Metapod. We should still be faster even after it's used a string shot on us. And it looks to be a 3-hit KO with Swift. Out next comes the Kakuna. We're not really worried about its Poison Sting since it's not going to be very effective against us. And now against the Scyther, he's going to start setting up Fury Cutter. Once he sets that up though, I'm going to give him a Sand Attack. We get a nice miss from that. He misses a Quick Attack as well. Swift isn't doing that much, but we only need one more hit and we easily get through that fight on the first attempt and get to level 17. And with that fight finished, we can now make our way to the rival. The problem is purely the Ghastly. We don't have anything good to hit it with. We could try, of course, to use Poison Sting, but that's 4 times resisted, so I'm not sure if it's going to be any good or not. I'm going to test it one time, and if it doesn't work, we're going to replace one of our moves with Fury Cutter. So here on the first attempt, I'm going to lead off by giving him a Sand Attack just to hopefully reduce his accuracy, as I realized I didn't even heal here. And our Poison Sting did 1 damage. Good job. So it's pretty clear that with 1 damage per hit, we're not going to get through that one with the Poison Sting strat. And since Poison Sting is such a weak move, I'm simply going to learn Fury Cutter over Poison Sting and see if this is enough to get through this fight. Now, obviously, the big difference with using Fury Cutter is that it will build up power as it hits consecutive turns. So I'm going to lead off by just using a bunch of Sand Attacks on the Ghastly so it hopefully doesn't land a Hypnosis and break up my Fury Cutters here so that we knock it out faster. He does use Spite on Fury Cutter, but we're slowly building it up. And now if we can just land one more, we will knock that Pokemon out. Out comes Croconaw. We've got so much Fury Cutter that we just one-shot it though. And now on the Zubat, let's just see. Okay, Fury Cutter is not very effective, but it's still doing a lot of damage and we easily knock him out. So we get through Rival 2. Yet again, it's just a Fury Cutter spot. Sand Attack makes the Fury Cutter strat a little more consistent given that the Ghastly can't necessarily hit us as many times. So it's less likely to be able to put us to sleep with Hypnosis or to paralyze us with Lick. Would probably be best yet again to go in with a Paralyzed Cure Berry just in case in that case. But either way, we got through on the first attempt, so it worked just fine. So Gligar gets through. Now it's time to see how Marowak does. Marowak, on the other hand, will have some ground type moves though, so it might turn out to be Bugsy who's the bigger challenge in this one. Now, if you watch my Gen 1 channel, you likely will have seen recently I did 2 runs with a Marowak. One where we found that a Gen 2 tradeback Marowak with Swords Dance could actually beat all of Pokemon Yellow on minimum battles. And a second one where we gave it the ghost typing and found that without Swords Dance, it's still just kind of trash. But with that being said, I'm pretty hopeful for Marowak here. We have access to Headbutt already, we have Bone Club, so we've got plenty of moves to get through this next section. It's just going to be a question of whether or not we can survive against that Bayleaf. If we have to go accuracy strats, we definitely will. If we outspeed, we might have the potential to use Headbutt, though this Pokemon's really not a particularly fast Pokemon. Now, I would like to do a Thick Club Marowak run at some point. Obviously, we're going to do that as a separate run though, because you don't usually get a Thick Club on your Marowak when you start the run. But if we can try that one out, I think it would be a really cool experiment to compare a normal Marowak versus the Thick Club Marowak. Just how much better does it get in a full game challenge? But for now, let's just get into the Slowpoke well, where these Team Rocket members are going to think that they've seen a ghost, and we're going to go ahead and destroy them in honor of Ghosty Mama from Gen 1, in spite of the fact that this is a male Marowak. We're still going to refer to it as Ghosty Mama. And with the final grunt ready to go, we're just going to spam Bone Club on his coughing. James, he's going to regret what he did back in Gen 1, and we get to level 12 as we can now move on to Bugsy's gym. And I think that Headbutt's going to be more than enough to get through this section of the game, but let's just find out if that's actually the case. So here coming in at level 13, we have 43 HP, we know Headbutt, Tail Whip, Bone Club, and Growl. And we have 30 attack, 38 defense, 22 special attack, 30 special defense, and only a paltry 21 speed. That's the real downfall of this Pokemon, is that it doesn't have special and it doesn't have speed. But I think our defense and attack are going to make this good enough. Let's just see if we beat Bugsy on the first attempt here. First things first, against this Metapod, I think we just go for the Headbutt. It appears to be a 3-hit KO, easy victory. Out next is Kakuna. We're going to resist its Poison Sting if it does hit, and we easily knock it out in 3 turns. Now finally the Scyther. I'm going to go all in on Headbutt first, just to see what the range is. We did 11 damage, so this is a 5-hit KO. I'm going to go ahead and give him 1 Tail Whip just to see what that does for the damage range here, and he's just going to knock us out with Fury Cutter on that one. So let's try again, and this time let's try to just use the Tail Whip to see if that helps us. We might need a critical hit here though. So this time he uses Leer first on us and then goes into his Fury Cutter, but it's not doing that much damage. A critical hit would get us through right here after using 1 Tail Whip on him. So this time he goes Quick Attack instead, so he's not building up damage against us. Now he switches into Fury Cutter, but we knock him out and we got through Bugsy at level 15. So with that out of the way, it's now just time to take on rival number 2, where the real question is that Bayleaf. Obviously we can just use Bone Club to knock out the Ghastly. We've got Headbutt, should be more than enough to take out the Zubat, but Bayleaf with our kind of best special defense could be a major challenge here. So first attempt against the rival, I'm just going to use Bone Club against his Ghastly. He actually puts me to sleep though, so he's just going to lick me a bunch while I'm asleep. He's licking my bones, guys. We easily knock that one out though. Now against the Bayleaf, it outspeeds us and we get one shot by a critical hit Razor Leaf. So I'm not sure if we can even survive here, but I'm going to try to go for the Mud Slap. Like, this would be so much easier if we could get the Fire Punch that comes up next after this section. But man, oh man, oh man. So I'm going to learn Mud Slap over Growl And this, I think, is our only real hope. So out comes the Bayleaf, Razor Leaf. We survive. We land a Mud Slap and we heal with a Berry. So it is possible to survive against non-critical hit Razor Leafs here. And that's clearly what we need. Now, the Headbutt's not doing a lot of damage, so we're going to have to set up a whole bunch of Mud Slaps here if we're going to have any shot of getting through. So this time we managed to set up 6 Mud Slaps here. I'm even going to use a couple Tail Whips to lower its defense. A non-critical hit does not knock us out, and it misses the next Razor Leaf, so we have actually made it through to the Zubat. We outspeed and hit Headbutt, and just like that, Marowak does manage to get through. It's incredibly luck-based, but it comes down to the fact that Razor Leaf, without a critical hit, is actually a 3-hit KO against our Marowak. Because of that, the rival is pretty likely on the first turn to use something like Poison Powder, Reflect, Growl, and if it uses any of those moves, it gives us that chance to start setting up the Mud Slaps. Obviously, it's not for damage. We're not doing any damage there. It's all about the accuracy strats, and we just needed a run where we got 6 accuracy drops in a row set up. We could still survive another Razor Leaf at that point, and then we just used a couple Tail Whips and the Headbutts to knock him out. So with that, Marowak does in fact move on. He got its revenge there. Ghosty Mama, even though he's Ghosty Papa in this one, is ready for the next section, and he's gonna get elemental punches. And hey, I mean, we've got decent moves in this next section of the game. I think this Pokemon's gonna be pretty darn good, but let's see if it actually works out or not. For now, both of the ground types get through, so let's check our progress so far. And just like that, we're up to 77 Pokemon, beating the Rival 2 and Bugsy sections of the game. And up next, it's time to get into 3 Hitmons. We've got Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and Hitmontop. All as fighting types could struggle here, since Bug and Flying do resist fighting. We might not have the moves for Ghastly. I think they all learn Mud Slap, but I'm not sure. One way or the other though, we gotta test it out. So let's start with the one that I'm least familiar with, Hitmontop, and see if it can manage to get through this section of the game. So Hitmontop can learn both Mud Slap and Swift in this section, and I think that's going to be enough to get through. Basically, we're probably going to have to Mud Slap against that Ghastly, and Swift we might just need for coverage given so many Pokemon resist our fighting type moves. That being said, if we can manage to even level up and get access to Pursuit in this section, we might have a solution for everything anyway. Though I'm not sure if we should rely on Dark type too much since we don't have much special attack, so we're probably best off just using the moves that I mentioned before and maybe focus energy in order to get access to a higher critical hit chance. And so we're going to tell Kurt that we've brought a Hitmon to see him, and he's going to run away because he thinks that we're out to get him. In fact, we're here to get Team Rocket, where this first Rocket Grunt really shouldn't be a problem at all for Hitmontop. Like, we're simply going to come in here and just spam Rolling Kick, and once it hits, it should just destroy these Rattatas. The real issue is the second member of Team Rocket that we're going to have to fight in here, good old Jessie Jr., because in this one, she's going to lead off with a Zubat, which 4 times resists our move, so I'm not sure we're going to do enough damage. Here, Rolling Kick did 5 damage there, which is not great. It is probably enough to eventually get through this, though we will need good accuracy luck. And now against the Ekans, we're doing like 9 damage per hit, so a bit better. We should be able to win this one, but we're going to run out of PP and have to run out and heal up. So with that, I'll probably avoid learning the new move Swift for now, just in case we want it later, but I don't see any way we're going to get through Bugsy without it. With that being said, with no move changes whatsoever, we have made it to Jamesy Proton, where we're simply going to set up a focus energy so that hopefully we can get a critical hit here. But with the poison, we might not be able to survive this first one, and he might actually beat us. So I don't know, this might be the spot to simply add on the Swift TM just so that we have a way to get through this fight a little bit easier. And since we already know we're going to need Mud Slap 2 for the Ghastly, we may as well just learn it now. So trying this fight again, I'm going to give him a couple of Mud Slaps just since we can lower his accuracy and do decent damage with the move. And then I'm just going to switch into the Swift since it does a lot more. And with that, we easily knock him out on the second attempt. So here, standing in front of Bugsy, let's check the stats. As we come in at level 13 with 40 HP, we know Rolling Kick, Focus Energy, Swift, and Mud Slap. We've got 34 in both attack and defense, 18 special attack, 38 special defense, and 28 speed. I decided not to learn Pursuit since it's a special attack, just not really going to be very good on this Pokemon. So instead, I'm going to roll with the moveset that I have. I think Swift will be enough, but I think we'll Focus Energy first. Let's see if this actually works. So first turn, Focus Energy. We get nice and pumped. Now we'll go into the Swift. It's looking like a 3-hit KO on this Metapod normally, but now we've got a higher critical hit chance. So that's all we really did that Focus Energy for. Here we get poisoned by the Kakuna though, and we just barely missed the range to 3-hit KO it. Out comes Scyther. He goes for Fury Cutter. We're going for the Swift. Swift is not doing a lot of damage here. He misses a Fury Cutter though. So we kind of have a shot here. Unfortunately, he knocks us out on that attempt. So this time I'm going to give a berry because honestly, last time, yes, we got a Fury Cutter miss, but if we weren't poisoned, we would have won that fight. Let's try it again. So once again, a Focus Energy right off the bat, and then Swift is the correct play here. And this time we do manage to get through Kakuna without being poisoned, fortunately. He does go for Fury Cutter, then he misses a Leer. He goes for a Quick Attack and gets a critical hit though. Now he's back to Fury Cutter, but I think we got him. Yes. So we beat him on the next attempt. Very nice. Bugsy never stood a chance. But now it's time to go ahead and try to fight against Rival 2 with our moveset. The real question is going to be that Ghastly, but I think Mud Slap's going to be enough. So I'll probably Mud Slap it first, then start setting up with my Focus Energy, and then we're just going to have to whittle the rest of the team down. So first things first, we're going to Mud Slap here. It does well over half. He misses a Hypnosis. So now we're going to Focus Energy as he misses another Hypnosis and then knock him out. Out comes the Bayleaf. I'm going for the Rolling Kick. It can flinch the opponent. He misses the first Razor Leaf, and fortunately the Hitmons have decent special defense here, so we knocked that one out. Finally, we've got the Zubat. I'm just going to go for Swift. It's a 2-hit KO, and just like that, Hitmontop gets through. So honestly, this is kind of surprising to me, but I just didn't know Hitmontop very well. I do remember that it uses Dig when it's on Bruno's team at the end of the game, so it's definitely got the moveset that it needs to be reasonably decent. I'm just not sure if it's going to be the best of the Hitmons. But with that done, let's move on to the next member of the Hitmon tree. It's time for what I think is absolutely the worst of the Hitmons. That's Hitmonchan. Let's see if it can manage to get through. Now, I would argue that Hitmonchan might be the single most improved Pokemon between Gen 1 and Gen 2, just because of the fact that this Pokemon was so trash in Gen 1, and yet the Special Split really helped the Hitmons a lot. Granted, it still doesn't have a lot of power behind its, special type punches, but it got Mach Punch in this generation, so it actually has a same type move that isn't complete trash as well. So it's just arguably the most improved. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good Pokemon by any means, but when you were already basically the laughing stock of Gen 1, it's nowhere but up, I think, in the second generation. The funny thing is that as a kid, I didn't really understand the importance of stats. So I just thought Pokemon that learned a lot of different types of moves were better. So as a kid, I actually chose Hitmonchan over Hitmonlee since it got elemental punches. I thought that made it more versatile than other fighting types. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Now, I think this is one where we obviously need to upgrade our moves. Comet Punch is just such trash. Like, yes, it can get through opponents, but since we already know we're going to go for Swift and Mud Slap here anyway, let's just get those moves added on. So now with some proper attacks, we can make our way here into the Slowpoke well, where I'm simply going to move Swift into the top slot and just start holding Auto A. We're going to get easy 2-hit KOs on these Rattatas, and with this moveset, I think we'll be just fine in this section. And sure enough, we easily reach James at the end. This guy's been demoted so much, he's even losing to a Hitmonchan, I think. So we're just going to Mud Slap him a few times and then go into the Swift, and we should have a guaranteed victory here. So easy win. Now it's time to just go take on Bugsy, and then we'll take on the rival. Now, one difference here is that because we know Comet Punch is such a trash move, we're simply going to replace it with Pursuit. I'd much rather have a move that at least we can gauge the range and know exactly what we need, rather than these multi-hit moves that are so random. So with that, let's save the game right in front of Bugsy and check the stats coming in. At level 13, Hitmonchan has 40 HP. We know Swift, Agility, Pursuit, and Mud Slap. We're gonna hold a berry going into this one. We've got 37 attack, 30 defense, 18 special attack, 38 special defense, and 29 speed. And with Agility, we can actually guarantee we outspeed everything. So let's just go ahead and get into this one and see if it works out. So Bugsy attempt number 1, I'm gonna set up Agility first, just so that I can guarantee that I will outspeed that final Scyther. Here it's looking to be a 4-hit KO. We got a critical hit, very nice, on that Metapod. Now we're going to go into the Swifts on Kakuna. We get a 3-hit KO there. Out next is the Scyther. We do outspeed, so yes, it's setting up the Fury Cutter, but Swift is hitting first. We heal with the berry there. It takes us down to very low health, but we knock it out as we survive on 1 HP from its quick attack. Very nice. He probably got a low roll there. I'm guessing he went quick attack because he knew that he couldn't survive another hit from us, but that is ridiculous. 1 HP to beat Bugsy with our Hitmonchan. And with that out of the way, now it's time to take on rival number 2. Now with 33 speed, we should already outspeed the entire team here, so there's no need to use Agility. I'm just going to use Pursuit, which is a 2-hit KO on Ghastly there. Now I'm going to go for Swift on the Bayleaf. It uses Poison Powder on me, and now it goes into the Razor Leaf, but since we've got such good special defense, we should be able to get through this one. It sets up a Reflect, unfortunately, which is kind of bad because that means that we're not doing much damage here. We are only taking 1 damage per hit from the bite though, so we get through in spite of being poisoned with 2 HP remaining. So just like that, we get what I think it personally is the worst Hitmon through this section of the game. It actually manages to beat Rival 2 and Bugsy. And I mean, a fighting type should do reasonably well in the next section, though we don't have any fighting type moves to use against Whitney. The real question is going to be how we do against Morty with these Pokemon. If we get through Morty, I think we have a good chance to get at least all the way to Claire with these Hitmons, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but hey, it's at least possible. So just like that, let's go ahead and save the game and let's make our way to the final Hitmon, my personal favorite, Bruce Lee. Let's go. Now I can hear some Pokemon purists out there saying, what the heck are you talking about? That Pokemon's not Bruce Lee, it's Hitmonlee. We know when you picked this Pokemon up for the first time, you had to give it only 1 nickname when you got it from the Fighting Dojo. Come on. Now the problem that we have with our legendary Bruce Lee, of course, is the fact that he doesn't learn any moves that can hit ghosts without learning the Mud Slap TM. So we're simply going to have to learn the Mud Slap and Swift TMs again with this Pokemon. It's clearly the correct strategy, and it will allow us to hit everything. Granted, Meditate might allow us to get through basically everything other than Ghastly simply with our fighting type moves. We'll just have to test it out. So of course, we're going to come talk to Kurt and we're going to show him the way that we can kick incredibly powerfully. We kicked so hard, we kicked him all the way to the Slowpoke well, and he's never going to fight again. But with that, let's get into these rockets where we should make very quick work of them, just like a Kung Fu movie. So I am kind of interested just how good we can do here with Meditate without even going for the Swift. So I'm going to try this one time. I'm just going to meditate a bunch against this first Zubat and then see if I can knock it out with my double kicks. So now on +6 attack, we just one-shot it. Out comes the Ekans and double kick easily knocks it out in a single turn. So yeah, it turns out that maybe just setting up with our Meditate is the solution here. The only problem with the Meditate strat is, of course, if we hit ourselves in confusion, we're going to do massive damage. So we kind of hope not to get hit by Supersonic here. On the next attempt, he missed 3 Supersonics against us, so we easily knocked that one out. And now the final Zubat also goes down easily. So we've made it to Jamesy Proton. He doesn't know what he's going to do against our Hitmonlee, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to meditate and I'm going to kick his coughing repeatedly. Now he does know our one weakness, which is to poison us because of the fact that we obviously are going to try to set up all of our meditates. That being said, Rolling Kick almost scores the 2-hit KO and we easily win that fight. And thanks to a free heal from Kurt, we're just going to make our way straight to Bugsy's gym where I think we're going to wreck everything. And it's kind of hilarious to watch Pokemon that are 4 times resistant to fighting just melt after we set up all the meditates. And after kicking literally every single bug in this gym that's available, time to make our way to Bugsy himself, where Bruce Lee is coming in at level 13 with 40 HP. We have Double Kick, Meditate, and Rolling Kick. Not even going to mess with changing my moveset just yet. We have 41 attack, 23 defense, 18 special attack, 38 special defense, and 32 speed. Our attack stat is very nice and high, and I think we're just going to meditate like crazy on the Metapod. That's right, Bugsy. We're going to redefine the meta on your Metapod by just sitting here and raising our attack more than you can raise your defense. And I think his 4 times resistances aren't actually going to matter that much after we get it all set up. So now at +6 attack, yes, this Metapod did use a harden, so it took a couple hits to knock it out, but now we get a 1-turn KO on that first Kakuna. Scyther is going for the Fury Cutter. Oh, and he's actually not taking that much damage. No. So we actually lose that one. Okay, so I think the solution here is simply to learn the move Swift. Swift plus all of our boosts, I think, is going to be more than enough to get through this section of the game. So now on +6 attack, Swift one-shots Metapod. It's going to one-shot Kakuna. Now on the Scyther, it goes quick attack, but we get knocked out by a critical hit. If not for the crit, we would have won there. So clearly now we just need to give a berry, and this is going to be a very easy victory. So next attempt back to Scyther, he goes for Fury Cutter, and that's not going to cut it, buddy. We easily knock him out and get to level 15. So really it just comes down to getting Swift on your moveset, and you're perfectly fine to get through Bugsy here. Now we do have to make one moveset change here. Of course, we have to learn Mud Slap, otherwise we have no way to hit his Ghastly. So I'm simply going to forget Double Kick. I'm going to keep Rolling Kick because Rolling Kick has a chance to flinch our opponents. So I think that's the better move. So here we're going to start off by just giving the Ghastly a Mud Slap. It does put us to sleep though. Not really a fan of that. And now we're getting licked. Oh, and we're getting paralyzed even. But I'm going to set up a few Meditates first. And then hopefully we can simply Mud Slap this one down. And now we're going to move on to the Bayleaf, where I'm going to switch into Rolling Kick. The critical hit did decent damage, but we did get to level up here and we learned Jump Kick. So I'm going to learn Jump Kick over Rolling Kick since it's a stronger move. We heal with the Berry. We get Bite and Flinch. Oh, the flinch. No. But Swift then does finally land in one shot to the Zubat. So it was no problem getting through the Rival 2 fight. All we needed was access to Mud Slap, Swift, and then we just kicked the Bayleaf into the next dimension, basically. Easy win. And now I think that we have no problems. In the next gym, I think Whitney's just going to get completely wrecked. Morty is the question. Morty and Rival 2. We're just not going to have anything super great there. We're going to have to hope that we outspeed and that the Mud Slaps are enough. But for now, Hitmonlee has made it through. All 3 Hitmons continue to progress. Gen 2 was so nice to these Pokemon. But hey, it's nice to see Fighting type actually be viable in a full game solo run. So hey, nice. So with those Pokemon out of the way, we have just a few extra ones to get through. We're going to start off with the Lickitung, which I think is going to be incredibly interesting. But guys, we've made it to 80 Pokemon getting through this section. Still only 21 have failed, so we're batting about 4-1 as far as Pokemon that get through the second gym and Rival 2 versus those that fail. And I think a lot of the fail Pokemon just kind of made sense. Like, it was pretty obvious that they weren't going to do very well here. But with that being said, 4 more challengers, and I'm going to guess that we can manage 4 for 4, but let's see if I'm actually right. Now, Lickitung's going to be very strange, of course, because its only attacking move at this point is Lick. We can learn Mud Slap, but I don't think we're going to get access to any other damaging moves in this section. Granted, we can hit Ghosts with Lick at least, so we have that, but we're kind of stuck with 2 really weak moves and Supersonic to try to get through this section of the game. So this one at the very least is probably going to be kind of terrible to get through, but I do think we have a chance. Now with that being said, the fact that we know that Lick can't affect normal types means that I'm going to go ahead and just slap the move Mud Slap right onto my Lickitung immediately, so that at least we have a chance to try to knock out the 2 Rattatas that we have to fight inside of the Slowpoke well. I really wish this Pokemon learned Swift, since that would be a massive improvement for it, but unfortunately it just doesn't get it. And we're not going to get another normal type attacking move till we get Stomp by a level up, or we get like Headbutt in the Ilex for us. We could also technically learn Cut, though I think I'll put that one off, since if we can just manage to get through this section, Headbutt will be a better move anyway. So let's just see if we can lick the competition down here, or are we going to get licked ourselves? Now against this first Rocket Grunt, I think we have nothing to do other than to use Supersonic first. We're really hoping these Pokemon hit themselves in confusion, and then maybe we can lower their accuracy with the Mud Slaps as we go, and ideally they just do exactly like that. Second Rattata comes out, we're going to go for the Supersonics yet again, and it's doing really good damage with its quick attacks here. It misses a tackle, fortunately, so it snaps out of confusion, so we need to reconfuse it, and it hits itself once, and it misses, so we managed to get through, but that was pretty darn close. Now, fortunately, we can use Lick on these other Pokemon, but let's just see if it works out or not. So ultimately, it did take a couple of resets, but we did manage to get through all the rockets to finally meet James Proton at the very end. So we're simply going to go for Supersonic here first, I think. We really want him to be confused. We want to Mud Slap him a bunch just to lower his accuracy. We don't have anything really strong to use here. So our best strategy is really just to keep him confused and just keep lowering his accuracy as much as possible. We get poisoned, but I think we can make our way through this as long as he doesn't hit too many times. And so we survive with 1 HP while being poisoned as we get to level 12. But hey, Lickitung has made it through the Slowpoke well. And now with everything basically beaten, I'm going to go ahead and try to fight Rival 2 first. I think this might be the better strategy than trying to go fight against Bugsy, just because our strategy is so random. So here, Rival 2 attempt number 1, I'm simply going to go for Lick on the Ghastly. We get the Paralysis, and it's fully paralyzed. Very nice. So we get through now to the Zubat. We're going to try to confuse this one. He's faster than me though. He flinched me once and now he's confused me. I do finally manage to confuse him back though. So here we're going to go for the Licks. We get the paralysis on him and now we have at least a reasonable chance to try to get through. We are confused, unfortunately. He snaps out of confusion, but we do knock that one out. Finally, it's Bayleaf time. It goes for Growl. We're going to use Supersonic here and now I'm going to lick it and I'm going to try to paralyze it. The whole idea here is that if we can have it paralyzed and confused, we have a pretty decent chance of it not moving. Unfortunately, we got knocked out on that one. So I've been sitting here resetting on that one for a hot minute and just not been able to get through it. So I think the only thing to do is come and try Bugsy instead and see if somehow we can get this one to go. Now, of course, here we should obviously be setting up a whole bunch of defense curls so that we take less damage later on in this fight. I'm also going to Supersonic this Metapod and kind of hope that it hits itself. And we simply cannot keep that Metapod confused. We can't paralyze it. We're just going to reset and try again. Now on the Kakuna, we're going to confuse it and I'm going to use the Mud Slaps to lower its accuracy, just hoping that it doesn't manage the poison on me. Fortunately, the speed drops don't really matter and we're able to knock it out and get to the final Scyther. We've set up all of the defense curls here too, so we've got a nice high defense stat. We're going to confuse it and now we're hoping to also paralyze it with Lick. If we can manage to get the paralysis on and just keep it confused from there, we have a pretty decent chance of getting through this one. We heal with the berry and he hits himself in confusion and finally we knock him out. So just like that, we actually managed to get through Bugsy and level up to level 15. So level 15 is a damage rounding threshold. We're still not going to be faster than anything on Rival 2's team though. So the only real difference is just that we're at a slightly higher level. We have to see if it turns out to be enough to be able to win this fight. Now the Ghastly can do literally nothing to us and I'm just setting up Defense Curl here because if we do get confused by the Zubat that's coming up and hit ourselves in confusion, it's going to use our own attack and defense stats to calculate the damage. So by setting up a bunch of defense curls here, we can guarantee that we'll take less damage there. The other point is that he's going to want to use a lot of spites while we're asleep. So I'd rather have him just waste his spite trying to reduce the PP of the move Defense Curl rather than having him use it on anything that's actually useful. So here is still 3-hit KO on the Ghastly. Out comes the Zubat. We're going to try to confuse this one. And once it's confused, we're going to go into the Licks hoping to paralyze it just like that. Very nice. And we're kind of hoping that he doesn't move too much and mostly hits himself in confusion. He does get a bite, but we've still got 34 HP on as we go to the Bayleaf. Time to go for our Mud Slap strats yet again, just trying to reduce its accuracy as much as possible. That's why we made sure to keep enough Mud Slaps for this one. Now we can go into the confusion strats. It hits a Razor Leaf, hits another Razor Leaf. Definitely not what we're looking for. We paralyze it though. Its Reflect wears off, and now we're just hoping that it hits itself or just come on, every single time. We do so little damage here. So this is our best run to the Bayleaf so far. It even misses the first Razor Leaf, and we've still got the Baryon still on green health even after getting hit with one Razor Leaf. We're going to keep setting up the Mud Slaps. We just don't have any strong moves here. We're going for the Mud Slap strats just for the hope of getting it to miss. And now we need to set up the Supersonic. We need to get it licked and hopefully paralyzed just like that. And now if he snaps out of confusion, we're going to reconfuse him, and we're just going to keep going over and over again. He snaps out of confusion there. We reconfuse him the next turn. He hits another Razor Leaf. I think we can survive a non-crit, but a crit will definitely knock us out. He's getting on very low health though. He sets up Reflect, and there we go. We finally get through. That took 5 resets this time, but previously we had at least 20 resets on that fight, trying to get through it before Bugsy. That fight is terrible. So yes, Lickitung can get through, and it's going to be so much better in this next section because it's going to get Headbutt. Going to be able to learn a bunch of moves that will actually make it viable. But up to this point, man, oh man, is this Pokemon just rough. It can get through. It's not so luck based as to be completely impossible, but you have to rely a lot on luck to get through that Rival 2 fight. As a max DV's Lickitung, it is possible here, but I'm not sure a 0 DV's Lickitung would have any shot whatsoever because we might just not be doing enough damage with Lick at that point. But hey, we'll take the win, I guess, and move on. But man, oh man, we might have to learn like Fire Blast or Ice Punch or something in the next section in order to progress. Anyway, that does it for this one. So now let's try it with Weezing. Now, Weezing is a Pokemon that I really don't have much confidence in this section. Our only move that can hit a ghost is going to be the move Smog, and it's going to be 4 times resisted by the Ghastly. So the only way I can actually see to get through this next section, especially Rival 2, is going to be to use struggle strats. I'm not sure it's going to be enough given that Smog is only a 20 base power move. We've only got Tackle, Poison Gas. So the real question is going to be whether or not our attack and our HP are good enough to struggle down that team. So I definitely think we're going to go to Bugsy's gym first, where we can at least use some poison strats and maybe get through, but this one might just turn out to be completely impossible. So we're going to come and talk to Kurt. He's going to say that thing smells so bad it belongs with Team Rocket. He's going to try to get our Weezing to get down in the well with him. He's going to go up and try to lock it up behind us so that we can't get out. But here, let's just go ahead and beat up on some Team Rocket members with one of their favorite Pokemon, and hopefully we can get through this without too much difficulty. And sure enough, we can make it to Jamesy Proton just fine, where we're just going to beat on him with his evolved form, Coughing versus Weezing. Which do you prefer, to be coughing or to be wheezing? Me, I prefer neither. I prefer to knock this one out quickly. So there we go. We get through that fight. The grunt goes down. We can make our way out of here. And I'm just going to go ahead and use some poison on some bugs because I think this is the best way to go. Probably the only way to progress at this point. So we're going to just go ahead and bring a flying sludge bomb here into Bugsy's gym, where we've got a level 13 Weezing with 44 HP. We know Tackle, Smog, Poison Gas, and Self-Destruct. Obviously, Self-Destruct is completely useless. And we have 33 attack, 41 defense, 31 special attack, 27 special defense, and 25 speed. Let's see if we can make this work somehow. Bugsy attempt number 1. So here what we're going to do is lead off with Smog against the Metapod. I'm hoping to actually poison it. We could go Poison Gas, but since Poison Gas is so inaccurate, I'd rather at least do damage as I'm trying to whittle it down. And there we do finally get it poisoned and knock it out. Out comes the Kakuna. We're obviously just going to go for the tackle over and over here. Poison Sting's nothing for us to worry about, so we just have to slowly whittle this one down. And here as we get to level 14, we can reach the Scyther, where yet again I'm gonna go for the Smog strat, and we're missing all the Smog. So we wanted to poison it, we just didn't get any sort of chance to do so, and just like that we lost. Okay, this time we get a Fury attack miss and we get him poisoned. I'm going into tackle now, hoping that I can get the range that I need to knock him out. And this time we do. So we can finally beat Bugsy and get to level 15 with our Weezing. But now we have a major problem. You see, I would love to go into the next fight and just use Struggle, but struggle strats are technically not possible with this Pokemon. You see, we're not able to buy revives at this point. So even with a second Pokemon, we would have no way to revive our Weezing after it used self-destruct. And what that effectively means is that there would be no way to ever even get to struggle with this Pokemon. So the only way we can progress in this one, at least legitimately, is to actually knock out the next opponent with our moves. We don't learn Swift, we don't learn Mud Slap, we don't learn Fury Cutter. So we're gonna have to try to knock out this Ghastly using Smog. This is going to be terrible. So here we can see he's doing 2 damage per hit with Lick. We're doing 2 damage per hit with Smog. But at 2 damage per hit, this is going to take 16 hits to knock this Pokemon out. There is just no way that we're going to get that level of luck. Add to that he can put us to sleep. He can use Spite on us. He can use all kinds of things that we just have no answers for. And here he used Spite enough times we actually ran out of PP in the move Smog, and so there's just literally nothing to do now. We can just spam self-destruct and die. Oh, this is terrible. So don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's technically some god tier luck with a bunch of misses from Hypnosis, and he never uses Spite on you, and he never gets the paralysis with Lick, and eventually you can get this one to go. But man, it's got to be so terrible to get through this one. There would have to be multiple critical hits in order to deal enough damage with Smog within the PP that it has anyway. So I just see no way to progress with this Weezing, and it's just a matter of it has no other moves. I wish that they had made more useful moves earlier on in the game for these Pokemon. Like, even if we had Smokescreen or if we could get Sludge, it would be so much better than what we have here with this Weezing. But hey, that is what it is. Weezing, we're just gonna have to eliminate it. It is out of there. So with that, we've got 2 challengers left, Dunsparce and of course Steelix. So let's go ahead and see if our little rage-filled whatever Dunsparce is can beat this next section of the game. I think we're going to be using rage strats a lot. So of course Dunsparce is another normal type Pokemon coming in here, but it does have access to Rage and it will get Mud Slap to be able to hit Ghosts. We already know that Rage is one of the best moves in this generation, just given the fact that compared to Gen 1 at least, Rage is actually reasonable to set up on most opponents. We're going to have plenty of opponents that are going to use physical moves against us that shouldn't do too much damage, and we should just be able to be all built up on our Rage even by the time we get to the Scyther. I might be a little bit nervous about the Bayleaf, but I think we can find a way through it. Now, since we can already see from our move pool that we're going to need to get access to Mud Slap just to progress in this section, I'm just going to go ahead and learn it. We can also possibly learn the move Glare in this section, which will just help us with paralyzing opponents. I think that will be enough to get through this section. So we're just going to follow Kurt down in the well and take out our Rage on Team Rocket here. And sure enough, they just can't stand up to the fury of whatever Dunsparce is. So we're just going to come into the final fight against this final Rocket, hoping that he actually attacks us so that we can build our Rage And with our higher attack, we're simply going to do pretty good damage here and easily knock him out. So with that done, I think we're going to make quick work out of Bugsy's gym as well. So let's make our way straight to the gym leader. And as we knock out our friend from Paris, we get to level 13 and we are able to learn the move Glare, which also allows us to paralyze opponents. So we should have a pretty clear strategy here. We're going to build up Rage. We're going to Glare at the Scyther, and then I think we're just going to knock it out pretty easily. So coming into the Bugsy fight, we have a level 13 Dunsparce with 53 HP, Rage, Defense Curl, Mud Slap, and Glare is the moveset. And we've got 28 attack, 28 defense, 26 in both specials, and 21 speed. So we're not very fast, but Glare should give us a chance. Let's see if it works. So first things first here, I'm actually going to set up my defenses just so that I have them ready to go. And in fact, what the heck, let's just use a Rage so that this one can build our Rage as we use our defense curls here. And now with 6 defense curls set up, we can just go into the Rage here and know that we're going to easily build up and knock that one out. Out comes the Kakuna. It goes for Harden first, then Poison Sting. We're going to do really good damage here. Easily knock it out. We get to level 14. Out comes Scyther. I'm going to Glare at it. It got a nice critical hit turn 1. It's going quick attack now, trying basically to stop us from building up too much damage, but we easily knock it out. There we go. So Bugsy was no trouble. Now we have to get through the rival. And I think the best strategy here, of course, is to go for the Mud Slaps on the Ghastly, and it's going to be Rage for everything else. So let's see if this actually works. Rival 2 attempt number 1. We go for the Mud Slap here. It looks to be a 2-hit KO on the Ghastly. Out comes the Zubat, which is kind of nice. I want to use Rage, and he bites, but that's just building up my Rage, so we get a 2-hit range there. And now on the Bayleaf, it goes for Razor Leaf, but we are just building our Rage and easily knock it out. So Dunsparce has no trouble in this entire section. He just completely just took out all of his rage on all of this section of Johto. All of the pent up aggression that I felt after sitting there with that Weezing and that Lickitung. Man, we were able to get it out. And just like that, we have completed this section. So there's only one Pokemon left. It is time to see how we do with Steelix. So as cool as Steelix is, I'm kind of nervous in this next section. We will get access to Bind 100%. I think eventually we'll get access to Rock Throw, but it's probably too late to take on the Ghastly. So I think the only way we're going to progress here is by using Mud Slap strats. So this is another one where I'm simply going to add the move Mud Slap right away, just because it's obvious that we're going to need it in order to get through that Ghastly. Fortunately, it is a same type move as well, so it just kind of makes sense to teach that to this Pokemon at this point in the game. So with that, we'll get right down in the well, where I don't think we have anything to worry about with a Steel Ground type. Let's just destroy these guys and get straight to Bugsy. Now, I actually feel like Steelix might be reasonable to try rival number 2 first, just to see if he's even possible, because if we can get up to level 14, which is only one level away, we could get access to the move Rock Throw, which would absolutely make the entire Bugsy fight trivial. So I'm going to try it one time. Let's just see if this works. So first up, of course, is the Ghastly. I'm simply going to go for the Mud Slap here. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. Easy victory. Out next is the Croconaw. It's going for Water Gun, which did a lot of damage. I'm going to Screech at it once and now go for the Tackle. Tackle did 10 damage. So really nothing. So yeah, that one is not going to happen at this point. So we just have to go in and fight against Bugsy instead. So with our Steelix coming into the Bugsy fight, we're at level 13 with 47 HP. We have Tackle, Screech, Mud Slap, and Bind. We're holding a berry just in case we need it. We've got 32 attack, 61 defense, 23 special attack, 26 special defense, and 17 speed. Let's see if this will work or not. So Bugsy attempt number 1. I'm simply going to Screech at his Metapod. Even if it uses Harden, it's still -1 defense here. So we're going to go all in on the tackles and easily knock this one out. Out next is the Kakuna. Once again, I'm going to Screech at it to even give it a bind just for good measure, just to even whittle it down a little bit more. We can Screech him again. He's just going to keep going for Harden while we use the Screech. And now we're just going to go all in on the tackle. We keep missing, but we finally knock him out. So now we get a level up and learn Rock Throw just in time for this next fight. I'm actually going to forget Bind and learn Rock Throw. And now let's just spam the Rock Throw against the Scyther. Looks to be a 2-hit KO. And Rock Throw is a much stronger move than any of our other moves here. So I think it's going to help against the Rival 2 fight as well. Plus, at level 15, we've just hit a damage rounding threshold. So theoretically, everything should be just a little bit stronger. So let's try Rival 2 again, where I think the strategy now is actually to go for the Rock Throw on the Ghastly. As long as it hits, it should just one hit there. Very nice. Now we're going to Screech once again on the Croconaw, and I'm going to go for the Rock Throw here. And we did like, what is that? 18 damage there. So a critical hit here would knock the Croconaw out. We don't get it that time. So we're going to be resetting here for a critical hit, I think. Yeah, it does 10 damage without Screech. So the only way to get it to do more is to use the Screech there and then go for that crit. So in general, we should be getting 2 Rock Throws off against that Croconaw as long as it doesn't critical hit us. So it's really just as simple as that. We just have to get the luck to get it to actually hit and land the crit. We could also go for the accuracy strat, I guess, trying to go for some Mud Slaps. I'm not sure that's the most consistent way to get through it though. So we did get 6 Mud Slaps up and we survive. So now we get a level up to level 16. Out comes the Zubat. Bite doesn't do that much, but we keep flinching. But once we land the Rock Throw, yeah, we get through. It's not great. It's pretty close to get through with a Steelix, but it is ultimately possible to win that fight. So with that, Steelix progresses in the game. It shouldn't have a massive issue against the next gym leader, of course, in Whitney. We'll get access to Dig, which will be super effective when we get up against Morty. So the real question is how we're going to do against Chuck later on. And of course, Price could actually damage this Pokemon. That will be kind of interesting. But if we can get through all that, then my guess is we're probably going to get wrecked by Claire with this Pokemon at the end. Jasmine will also be very interesting with a Steelix. Steelix on Steelix violence. We'll see who's packing more steel, I guess. But with that, we've finished all the challengers for today. So let's check in on our progress so far. So with that section done, 83 Pokemon have passed, 22 have failed. We didn't add anything to the struggle column this time, and we didn't have any member picks. So we're making progress, guys. We're over 100 Pokemon into this section of the challenge. Only a few more episodes to go. I'm going to save Unknown for its own little episode, or at least to be just kind of added on to an episode later on. So for now, next time we're going to come back with a pretty nice assortment of Pokemon. We're going to do the Rhyhorn line, Tangela, Kangaskhan. We're going to have Horsey and Seadra, Seeking. We've got the Starmie. Then we're getting all of the like Pokemon that I thought were always kind of weird in Gen 1, the ones that were single stages in Gen 1, but a lot of them in Gen 2 got baby forms. So we're going to have Mr. Mime, Scyther. We're going to have to throw in the channel member Pinsir in this section. We've got Jinx, Electabuzz, Magmar, and Magby is still alive technically. We're also going to have to bring that Elekid from the channel members picks into this section and see how these Pokemon actually do. Then we've got Snubbull and Granbull just to round everything out. So very interesting set of Pokemon. I think a lot of them are going to do really, really well in this next section. Like the water types and the rock types I'm the most worried about, but I think that we're going to be able to get through with a lot of these Pokemon, honestly. The fire types, as long as they can find a way through Croconaw, should be good. The Electabuzz I think will be decent. Jinx should be pretty decent. Scyther on Scyther Violence is going to be very, very interesting, but I don't know. You guys just tell me. If I had to guess right now based on the runs that I just did, I'm guessing at least Rhyhorn, Horsey, Tangela. I don't see any way Tangela gets through. Not against Bugsy, not against the rival. It's just going to get wrecked, I think. But, you know, I could see all of the fully evolved water types maybe getting through. I could see Rhydon getting through. And, yeah, maybe Magby struggles. Everything else, I think, has a decent shot. But you just tell me what you think. Did I miss something about the moves that's going to make it really terrible? Anything like that? Tell me in the comments below. But with that, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Might be a little delayed, like I said at the beginning. If so, there might be baby pictures posted on the Discord at least. So, you know, just go check that out. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Later.